Welcome! Your Fearless Aging podcast is taking off. The cheers are for you, wanting to age and live fearlessly. Here's your host, America's healthy aging trainer and creator of the ageless living lifestyle, Rico Cavaglia.
Hello, this is Rico Cavaglia, America's healthy aging trainer and creator of the ageless living lifestyle and the new Be Bold, Never Be Old online wellness club and our new anti-aging wellness cruise called the New You Cruise. I'll be telling you more about that in episodes to follow. We're going to be taking people on wellness cruises out of San Diego starting next year. That's going to be really exciting. I think we're really a beneficial venue to really help people to really learn some really healthy habits that can really benefit them, keep them a lot more healthy and energetic so they can live a longer, more productive life. But today's episode is entitled Sunlight, Helpful or Harmful? Now this is one of my favorite topics because there's so much, as you know, there's so much information and some misinformation and so much controversy over many different health issues and things. So sunlight is one of the big ones. And of course, as usual, the mainstream, they get into their thing and it's pretty much promoted by the medical system. And of course, there's always behind it is, what their procedures that they can sell you or what drugs they can sell you. So they can, the mainstream medical system sometimes just makes up diseases and things that can happen to you so they can sell you a drug, unfortunately. But anyway, sunlight, helpful or harmful? Well, I'm sure you've heard many times that the sun is very harmful. You got to stay out of the sun. It causes cancer. And you make sure every time you go out, you got to put on sunscreen and wear clothes that will block the sun. And I think both really are examples of many of the health myths that are perpetuated, again, primarily by the pharmaceutical industry and by the uninformed medical establishment. Quite often they mean well, but they just kind of buy into what's a normal thing out there and they just go along with it. But think about this. The sun is really our friend. I mean, as you know, we would die without the sun. All life depends upon the sun. And without the sun, there'd be no plants, no food, no energy. And so it's no wonder that many of the ancient cultures, they treated the sun as a god. Man, the sun went down, it got cold and dark, and then it would reappear again and bring warmth, and they could grow food. And so they worship the sun as a god. And in that regard, the sun is a god, And throughout history, the sun's used to prevent and cure a wide range of diseases. It also kills bacteria, and there's much new evidence that it actually prevents many types of breast cancer and colon cancer and prostate and ovarian cancers and all these things that it can be good for. And sunlight also can be good for your eyes. It's not necessarily bad for your eyes. Now here's the thing, of course, overexposure to anything, any substance, even oxygen or even water, you can overdo it and it can cause problems for you. So here's the thing. Obviously, you do not want to get sunburn. If you get your sun burned, that's a burn. Burns are not good, right? Burns can actually end up killing you, right? And burned skin and too much sun, which I have to admit, I've been kind of a sun worshiper all my life, and I've been out in the sun a lot. I've always been outside, active and working and doing sports, and I've gotten too much sun. I've gotten sunburned sometimes without realizing how bad it was for you. And I've gotten some, and as I age, and it kind of ages your skin, and I'm getting some wrinkles and some sagging. I have to admit it, from being out in too much sun. But I love to be in the sun. I'm never going to stop being in the sun. So we'll talk about what is a moderate amount of sun and what you can do to protect yourself. But it's pretty much not what the mainstream is talking about here. And also talking about back to the eyes now. Overuse of sunglasses. Sunglasses got so popular, I guess, also so you can look like Hollywood, you can look cool. And they always say, always wear sunglasses when you go out in the sun. And it's really harmful because it restricts the amount of healthy sunlight that's needed by the eyes and in your entire body. A lot of sun comes in, and a lot of vitamin D that's produced in your body comes from sun that comes in through your eyes. So obviously you don't want to get sunburn on your eyes, and you don't want to look directly at the sun. But there's actually a method of sun bathing your eyes, where you open up your eyes and you roll your pupil all the way over to the side, and you let the sun just come in on the white of your eye. Now that's something if you want to try that, you have to research it and make sure you do it right. But here's the point about sunglasses. Sunglasses keeps all the sun out of your eyes. And have you noticed, then people's eyes get really weak. Anytime people, if you wear sunglasses all the time, you go out in the sun, oh, you can't stand it. Oh, it hurts so much, you got to put on sunglasses. I rarely wear sunglasses. I don't like the way it feels. And I go out in the sun, I don't need to wear sunglasses when I'm going out in the sun. The only time you really need sunglasses is when you're on like the water, when you get a reflection, that really bright reflection off the water, or off snow if you're out skiing or in the mountain snow. Now that reflection is hard on the eyes. So there's when you really need to wear sunglasses. And maybe if you're going to be out for a really extended time, maybe sunglasses can be helpful. Or you want to get rid of that glare. But if you're wearing sunglasses all the time, it's really weakening your eyes, and then you're stuck. You can never go out without sunglasses. So it becomes like a crutch. So always remember, ancient people, they didn't have sunglasses yet, and they'd gotten along quite well with being out in the natural sun. But it's always about using good discretion. Obviously, you don't want to overdo any one thing. Now we'll talk a little bit about UVA and UVB radiation. So UVA sun rays have a constant intensity throughout the day, and they penetrate the skin deeply and cause more free radical damage which can possibly lead to skin cancer. And UVB sun rays are less problematic because they are only at high intensity between, say, 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. And they actually help your body. UVB actually helps your body to produce vitamin D. So between the hours of 10 and 2 is actually the best time to be in the sun for vitamin D production. But of course, then that's also the time when the UVAs are the most intense. So you don't want to stay out there too long in that period of time. It's usually better to get out in the sun maybe in the early morning, or maybe when the sun's not quite so intense. Now, sun exposure does not necessarily lead to skin cancer. There's been many studies. There's been some definitive studies. One of them that I'm familiar with is they did it with Australian lifeguards who were out in the sun constantly, and it showed that they had less skin cancer than the general population. Now, of course, there's some caveats there that I can realize. Most people who are a lifeguard are pretty healthy and pretty good condition. And of course, they're younger and healthier, and they're in good shape. You got to be really in good shape to be a lifeguard. So that's one thing why their skin might be, less receptive to getting burned. And also they may have been using, some protection as they realize that they're out there all the time. But overall, they had less, but they got more sun, but they also had less skin cancer. And it's really one's overall lifestyle, like poor nutrition is a major factor in developing any disease. And also another interesting fact is that melanoma, which is the most dangerous form of skin cancer that can actually kill you, it's the only really deadly form of skin cancer. It actually occurs mostly on unexposed parts of the body, which certainly leaves some doubt as to the actual cause. If it's not really been exposed to the sun, then it's coming from something else. And again, to like all things, like all disease in the body, from poor nutrition and stress and toxicity and all these things, So obviously too much exposure and sunburn can lead to skin cancer, especially for those most susceptible, primarily people with fair skin. However, as I mentioned before, the cancer prevention qualities of sunlight, the health benefits and the producing of vitamin D really outweigh the potential hazards. But the commercial sunscreens are really questionable at best. Sunscreens have been touted as necessary to prevent skin cancer, but in fact, when you investigate it, and I've read many accounts of this, when people who's actually researched this sort of thing, that most of them contain toxic chemicals that actually can contribute to causing internal cancers. And they are not really 100% effective at preventing sunburn anyway. So many people using sunscreens have a false sense of security, and they tend to put on this stuff, this kind of toxic sunscreens, to lay out in the sun too long, and then they not only get too much sun, but they're also absorbing some of that toxic materials into their body. And so your best bet, if you're going to be out in the sun, like say, especially if you're in the water or on the snow where you're getting this glare, or you're going to be out a long time in sun exposure, especially use what's called sunblock, not sunscreen. And the best ones are natural substances like titanium and zinc oxide. You've seen people with those walk around with a white nose. Although you don't have to leave it just white, you could rub it in so it doesn't look so white. But those are two natural mineral compounds that have been used safely for many, many years as an effective sunblock. So if you know you're going to be out in the sun for an extended period of time, or you're on the snow, you're on the water, and there's a lot of sun, you want to use sunblock, not sunscreens. And again, you can get these at you can probably get, I'm sure you can get them in the drugstore too, or any health food store. Either titanium oxide or zinc oxide comes in like a little salve, and you just rub it all over your face, and that will actually block the sun and keep you from getting sunburn. And it's so important. We're learning more and more how important vitamin D is. Vitamin D is so important for good health, especially for cancer prevention. It's an essential nutrient that the body requires to produce healthy bones. And it prevents many serious types of cancer, especially breast cancer as well. There's many studies that show that there's many more cases of vitamin D deficiency for people living in northern latitudes compared to those living in southern, sunnier latitudes. And there are also many more cases in northern latitudes of osteoporosis, depression, and many forms of cancer, especially breast cancer. So this seems to suggest that a strong correlation between vitamin D deficiencies and many diseases. So your body can only produce a sufficient amount of vitamin D from having regular sunlight exposure. So I highly recommend, especially if you don't live in areas where there's a lot of sun normally every day or a good part of the year, vitamin D supplementation. You want to get vitamin D3. That's the natural form of it, and it's very inexpensive. You can get a bottle of probably, 60 or 100 capsules. You want to take about 500 units a day, 500 to 10,000. They cost like $5-6 is all. So that's what you really want to take. And for some people, if you're living in a really north community where you don't have very much sun, you can buy actually natural sun lamps that can actually give you a regular exposure to the sun. Now, you don't want to go on these tanning booths either. See, again, those really put you a high exposure to UVA and UVB, and they just over tan your whole body. You want to stay away from any of those tanning booths. Isn't it kind of funny too that many cultures of the world, especially in Asia, people with dark skin are usually the people who work outside all day, and the laborers and the what so-called lower class people. So people in Asia, they want to be white. They want to have light skin, because dark skin seems like you're a lower class or you're just a working laborer. So they always wear hats, and they're trying to stay out of the sun. And then people here in, especially in North America and in the United States, always trying to get suntan. Like too white skin looks unhealthy. So it looks, when you get more of a tan glow, you look more healthier, which is not really healthier, but it does look better, I have to admit, in my opinion. So people are trying to get suntan, and many people are trying to stay out and trying to be white. So it's kind of funny as usual. So the conclusion for all this is that do not fear the sun. The sun is our friend. We can't live without it. So go out and enjoy the sun on a daily basis. Get out there and in the sunshine. But don't overdo it. And obviously, you don't want to just lay out in the sun and bake. Sunburn is never good. Okay, and there are some natural sunscreens you can look up and see. You can Google it and find what sunscreens are natural. But really, if you're really going to be out extended time or on the water or on the snow, you want to get a sunblock. Get a sunblock, and there's also